The one thing that nearly everybody in America is in agreement on is that we are suffering from a mental health crisis in our country. It's often referred to as our silent pandemic, and it's both collectively and individually affecting individuals in our country as a whole. It used to be that stresses of everyday life were something that most people could manage on an everyday basis. But now we have so many more people being affected in ways that we never thought we could see. School violence, social media being added to teens' lives. And many people today are struggling just to make ends meet to put food on the table due to our struggling economy. Of course, the news outlets are always saying that the sky is falling, and it gets harder and harder for people to ignore when it's blasted everywhere you go. Most of us are employees, and we find that employers are understaffed and employees are more and more overworked each day. And this anxiety and depression are at an all-time high, and it doesn't seem that there's an end in sight. More and more people are struggling with their jobs and struggling because they bring that anxiety home with them. If that sounds like you, it's not your fault. We are just not given the tools in order to combat this. For many people, it's the first time they've seen these struggles. Without treatment, you may feel like your job is the problem. That might be true, but when you're the breadwinner and people are relying on you, quitting may not be a solution. It just adds another layer of anxiety onto you. We've all heard the adage of put your own oxygen mask on first. Without treatment, work gets tougher. Your productivity goes down, your absenteeism goes up, and perhaps that affects your paycheck and you may be putting your job at risk. When you're not addressing your anxiety and your depression, you are much more likely to experience increased medical costs as well. But many times the job is not exactly the problem. It's who you're taking to work with you, meaning yourself, that is the cause. So if you go and try to find another job, you're taking yourself with you. I'm not saying don't look for another job and don't try to better your situation, but with proper help, you could possibly try to stay put where you are for at least a while and only move one thing at a time. Change one part at a time because 80% of individuals that have worked with proper care, including therapy and skill building, find that their levels of effectiveness at work have increased, but also their satisfaction. And that satisfaction is something that you take home with you. You take home the aggravations, but you could also be taking home the feeling of having a good day. So what we find is that people look to their employers because their employer is often where they get their health insurance. But the problem is that the help really isn't there in a way that it could be. And when many people do seek help, they often feel a stigma. They don't want people knowing their business. And employee assistance programs, or EAPs, while they mean well, are very limited in how long they can help you. Most have a limit of only 3 to 6 sessions. So next thing you know, you've taken that risk, the potential lack of confidentiality, you've gone through the EAP, but it's run its course and you still need help. So now you're back to health insurance. If it has any benefits at all for mental health, now you're facing deductibles and copays, adding a financial burden. But possibly worse, especially depending on where you live, you're still going to have issues with accessibility and long wait times. There are places in the country that have wait times in excess of 60 days, some pushing 90 days and beyond. So if you don't live in a metropolitan or urban area, you may have only a few choices of providers. So even if you do finally get in after 3 months, what if you don't like that person? 75 to 76% of employees feel that employers should be doing more. And while this is also a program that can be offered to employers for their employees, what we're saying is don't wait. Get the help you need. Because we all know that the pandemic has negatively affected our mental health, but it's not only affected our mental health, it's also affected our physical health, because mental health is physical health. That results in trouble sleeping, getting sick too often, maybe missing work because of all of that, but also simply not being happy. And when you're not happy and you're under stress, the next thing you know, you're getting in fights with your children, fights with your spouse and other family members, or isolating yourself from friends. And none of that is good. But some stress is productive. We're not trying to get rid of all stress. Anybody that has ever been working on a project, maybe with an approaching deadline and you're hitting your stride, knows what I mean. Or a team practicing for a big game, or an individual striving for their personal best in a race knows that there's such a thing as optimal performance. But on the flip side, many people, especially students, know what it's like to have final exams and you're in school and you're so overwhelmed and you're not sleeping, and the anxiety gets to a point where you are this close to having a complete meltdown. So we need to find that sweet spot where we can perform under stress but not overwhelm ourselves. So why is your insurance not necessarily the best choice? Well, for starters, it may not even offer mental health. And when it does, often it comes with deductibles and copays, which may make it unaffordable. I'm jumping ahead of here, but we need about 13 sessions before we start to see improvements. So remember that, okay? But often, insurance comes with limitations. Well, what if you're just starting to feel improvements and then your coverage ends? Is the person that's creating the strife in your life not insured at all? Maybe one that needs the help the most is part of your household but not on your insurance. That one person can create more conflict within the household, yet there's no help for them. With our plan, it doesn't matter. The help is there. As I mentioned earlier, wait times and provider options are a huge factor for many people in not being able to seek help. EAPs or employee assistance programs offer very limited help, and maybe that's where you start, but once again, now you're opening the door to the lack of confidentiality at the workplace. Are there any other options other than insurance? Let me answer with a resounding yes, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. Could you imagine a mental health solution that isn't part of your insurance? And it's affordable. It includes the whole household, especially teens, because not all mental health programs do include teenagers, but ours does. And it's anonymous. Nobody knows you're using it but you. A lot of people don't want others at work to know, but maybe you don't want your spouse to know. Maybe you don't want your children to know. Well, with our program, you can hide away. You can go out to your car, you can lock yourself in the bathroom and run the shower, you can hide in the closet, or you can sit on your own couch. Or if you have an office at work, take a lunch break and close the door. Any of those can work for our program and many more because nobody needs to know that you're using it. And we have a multitude of national providers. And they're not just providers, they are excellent providers that Teladoc has hand-chosen, ones that have years of work underneath their belts of helping people. And with so many to choose from, if you don't like the one you choose, you can start over again. It is so easy to use because everybody these days has access to their cell phones. Virtual mental health solutions from Teladoc is something that has been perfected to make it easy for you to set up your account and to use. Not tech savvy? We have help just a phone call away. It is easy to view the providers that are available, to choose one that you're comfortable with, but you're always welcome to change your mind if you don't like them. Then get on their schedule and actually have your session directly from your phone or your computer if that's what you prefer. There are several players that are involved here in making this work, and you'll see in the next slide why I'm sharing this. First of all is Teladoc. Once again, they are the innovators of telemedicine, the Kleenex of the tissue industry. They're the oldest and most experienced telemedicine provider by far, and they are the gold standard with 56 million paid members in the United States. New Benefits is our third-party administrator, and they have 25 million individuals. And Rx4 Mental Health, that's us. We're a subsidiary of Restore Health, and we were formed in 2009, so we have years of experience serving tens of thousands of individuals. If you find Teladoc online, or maybe on Facebook, what you're going to see is that it's expensive. It can be $99 for a mental health visit. In our eyes, that's not affordable. But we're different. Due to the sheer volume of people that we serve, we are able to offer our Rx4 Mental Health to your entire household, all 4 benefits for $39.95 a month. And you'll only pay $25 per mental health session with no limits on household usage and no contract. In fact, you can try it for 1 month, and if you're not happy, you can get your entire payment refunded to you, even your per session fees. That's how confident we are that you'll get the help that you need. Our additional services, as you will see in a few slides, cost you nothing to use. The savings on the cost of mental health are tremendous, so I want to spell this out for you. I mentioned earlier that on average, individuals felt they needed nearly 13 sessions before they felt they saw improvements. But what would this cost you if you paid for 12.7 sessions at the national average of $195 per session? It would cost you nearly $2,500. But with our program, based on $39.95 a month, and in this case, an average of 7 months would be less than $600. But what is the savings if you choose our program over traditional mental health care? It's $1,900. And that doesn't include the savings from not having to take time off from work, pay gas money, tolls, and parking. Let me ask you, what could you do if you had almost $1,900 back in your pocket to spend on something else? I think it could make a tremendous difference. So now let's take a look at the impact that you could have on your life and that of your household members. You could be happier at work. It's virtual, so you can get help anywhere. Nobody needs to know. You choose your own provider, and you can change your own provider. In fact, anyone in your family can choose their own providers, and they could change them as well, so you're not stuck. We have the privacy and confidentiality that people want. And it's accessible. You can schedule a therapist, psychologist, or psychiatrist within 48 hours. And one more thing, our telemedicine provides even greater savings. It helps reduce co-pays and deductibles and can really get you the help that you need as quickly as possible. Now let's take a look at the 4 benefits that you receive for $39.95 a month for the entire household. Mental health is for therapy, psychology, and psychiatry consultations. We also have a 24/7 counseling service, very similar to employee assistance programs for acute situations where you need help now. And if you find that your situation hasn't completely resolved itself to your satisfaction within 6 sessions, they're going to help you integrate into the longer-term Teladoc mental health program, find a provider, and get you scheduled. But we also have physician telemedicine. Anyone with kids knows the drill. It's 5:05 p.m. on a Friday night, and that's when your son or daughter comes down with a blistering fever and a sore throat, and your physician's office just closed. And now you're faced with going into an urgent care or possibly even the emergency room. So now you're presented with sick people everywhere, and of course the charges. You never quite know what it's going to cost you until they make you pay at the very end. Teladoc physicians can help diagnose you and prescribe medications right in the comfort of your home, so you or your loved ones are on the road to feeling better as soon as possible. And they could tell you if you do need to go to that emergency room or urgent care. You don't have to second guess your decisions. This last benefit is definitely not the least. It's called Health Advocate Solutions because we become an advocate for you, helping you resolve billing issues, helping you find second opinions, and much more. Our healthcare system is more confusing than ever, and overworked employees simply have little patience for people trying to figure the system out. Not only can they take the burden of untangling medical bills off your shoulders, but our advocates can actually negotiate to lower those same medical bills. With so many individuals being caretakers for both their children and their parents, getting help with elder care is becoming more of an issue, and our advocates can help. Reducing financial stress can help prove to lower anxiety, and the help is here. So the message we have for you today is, take advantage of this wonderful program your employer is offering to help fill the gaps in benefits. We ensure your confidentiality and your employer does not have access to your records. You will have easier access, faster access, and more providers to choose from than traditional routes. Let taking care of yourself and your loved ones be easy. I think that you're going to agree that your employer has found a program that provides a ton of value. I want to thank you for being here today. We're always here for you. Perhaps it's time to ask yourself, when do I want to start feeling better? When do I want to be able to help my loved ones? If the answer is now, then click below and enroll today. Thank you. Take care.